We see waves from AOC on callouts. Dude, AOC should be like borderline Fed posting about Jeffries every day. I do not understand how you can work under that man and not be losing your fucking mind all the time. She's not a leftist like Mamdani is. Not like Mamdani is, that's for sure. I mean, Mamdani has like very explicitly talked about seizing the means of production. I know where he's coming from. Does she rely on them for funding? No, AOC can win her re-election just fine. I can't tell if it's caution or bandwidth. I think that she's acting with too much caution. That's what I think. She needs to primary Schumer when it comes time. How can she primary Schumer when she won't shit talk him? But I don't think that's necessarily a reason to be disillusioned with her. No, that is. That's exactly the reason. She's not doing anything. The main enemy right now that leftists need to contend with is the Democratic Party. Is an evil, corrupt, stagnant organization that is gatekeeping us from doing anything about the Republicans. The Democrats are incapable of doing anything themselves. They are incompetent, and they are maliciously incompetent. I mean, also ICE. You can't do anything about ICE unless you have the power the Democrats have, and the Democrats don't use that power. If you read Ryan Grimm's book, it's pretty clear why she's like this. I don't know if I trust Ryan Grimm's take on it. What does it mean to primary someone? When they're running as in the primary for their party for whatever seat they currently occupy, for you to run in that primary to beat them and take their seat. It doesn't seem like Bernie and AOC really used the momentum from the Fighting Oligarchy tour to even do anything. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. They did a big tour, and the tour was impressive. What'd they do with it? Like, okay, they said Elon's bad. That's great. Well, Elon's not even really in power anymore. Like, no one fucking likes him because he's a loser. So what was the point? You know? What was the purpose of the exercise? You do that whole tour and then what? You get people excited? Yeah, you get people excited, then nothing? The Fighting Oligarchy tour was IMO indirectly responsible for building out-of-state support for Mamdani. I think that's a reach. I think they did a tour that people got excited about, and then they just didn't do anything with it. They should be... Why is there no pressure against the insanely incompetent leadership of the Dems from within the Democratic Party? Why is no one, none of the hundreds of Democratic House members, are willing to speak up about it? Not one? And I mean really speak up about it. I mean wage a war. Why is it that Rand Paul is more vocally oppositional to Senator Thune or to Trump? Same with Tillis, you know. Why is it that they're more willing to be oppositional within their extremely consolidated, borderline dictatorial party? Meanwhile, in the Democrats, where everyone's too weak to do shit, no one will talk up against Schumer. They're old. AOC's not old. AOC also isn't at risk of losing another election. AOC will continue to win in her district. So it's not risk of getting primaried. Why then? Dems are cordial, unlike Republicans? Sure, well, if that's what's keeping AOC held back, that fucking sucks, and that's enough to disillusion me. Never forget she was a Biden dead-ender. That was pretty weird. It's partly toxic positivity. Okay, but none of this should be affecting AOC. That's the weird part, right? Like, none of this should be affecting her. I'm sorry, but like... If you campaign on being a representative of change and then you don't do the change, like, obviously that's going to be a problem. Would the DNC try to primary her for going against the establishment? No. And they couldn't succeed if they tried. She is not in a risky district at all. She is totally, totally, totally safe. Wait, where does she get her money from? Donations from supporters, not from AIPAC. This is the inside strategy at work. They offer you positions and shit, you feel pressure to not criticize them. Yeah, but AOC doesn't even have any, like, positional power. She's not doing anything with any power. She should be using the real power she has, which is the bully pulpit. She has a soapbox. She's on committees, doing nothing. It doesn't matter whether she's on committees. The committees don't have any power. Also, are you going to let yourself be bought that easily? Like, oh, I know you're supposed to be tearing us apart from the inside, but, you know, we don't want you to do that. So here's, like, some ranking member committee seats or whatever. Does this not also apply to the rest of the squad? What is the squad? The squad doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, no. AOC is by far the most popular one. By far the one with the biggest voice. By far the one in the safest seat. Why do you think she's like that? I don't know. Maybe she's a coward. I think that's probably it. Listen, this is the anarchist critique. If you attempt to integrate yourself, if you do entryism, if you try to integrate yourself into a system and change it from within, the system can also change you. That's the anarchist critique. That you can like be worn down by a series of compromises and you know, like deals, backroom deals, and eventually after enough of that, you no longer have the ability to meaningfully express yourself because you're now sitting atop kind of like an ill-gotten pile of legitimacy. Mamdani seems a little bit more principled. Maybe that's why DSA unendorsed AOC. DSA unendorsed AOC because she started becoming effective in the DNC, simple as? No, I don't think that's why. AOC has gotten better at managing a progressive coalition. There is no coalition. And improving relations with leadership. The leadership is dead and useless. She's befriending corpses, which was important for big legislative fights in 21 and 22 and would be important if they win the majority in 26. There's no coalition, and this leadership will never win again. And this Congress will never do anything. The point is to be transformative, okay? I am not lowering my standards to, well, she's gotten better at fucking capitulating to the deep state Zionist, you know, deliberately ineffective machine that's going to send us all to the camps. Sounding just a bit Twitter lefty right now. Well, can you drop the fucking dogmatism and just engage with my point? Nothing I'm saying right now, by the way, is different from anything I've said for months now. The only reason you don't like it is because you're parasocial to AOC and you don't like their criticism. Jesus Christ. Like, none of the points I'm making about the Democratic Party have changed at all. You just don't like it. The fact that this, like, negatively implicates her, okay? Oh, you sound like a Twitter lefty. Well, I don't know. If Twitter lefties only talked the way I talk, then they would be a lot more reasonable. You're being a bit uncharitable to her. She's the only major Dem that actually stood up for Madani. Can you guys stop lowering your fucking standards? We're supposed to be socialists, not progressive liberal Democrats. She's literally the most popular member of the Democratic Party, and she's not using that platform to advance criticisms against the monstrously incompetent, ineffective, maliciously obstructionist Democratic establishment. Come on. I don't care how nice she is. I don't care if she gets along with Mamdani, okay? I'm just talking about what she can do with her power. Maybe AOC should hold another town hall so someone might ask her if she's ever going to be willing to criticize the Dems like Mamdani is. The thing that pisses me off is that when people are disruptive at like an AOC town hall or whatever, they're always, you know, like Russian disinfo retards who start screeching about how she's pro-genocide or whatever. They're never substantive criticisms. Like somebody, like I would love to see her answer to a very frank, straightforward, the Democratic Party is failing us. We don't think that you're doing enough to criticize the Democratic establishment. It seems working with them isn't getting you anywhere. What are you doing to meaningfully, like, we don't want you to work with Jeffries. We want you to replace Jeffries or facilitate his replacement. You should be his enemy, you know? Something like that. I don't know. I've been thinking about being a little bit more active. I got an email from somebody who works at YDSA, and they were like, you need to start pitching DSA more. And the God's honest truth is, like, I have nothing against the DSA on principle. I just hate how decentralized it is, because I feel like a lot of the DSA chapters are full of losers. Politically ineffective losers. Obviously, New York City DSA is great. Let's not... Okay, there's no way around it. NYC DSA is great, okay? Clearly. They're a real organization. What about Seattle DSA? You know, I've never even looked. I wonder. If I went there, would they all throw rocks at me? They probably couldn't kill me. I bet I'm stronger than the average Seattle DSA member. The management for DSA needs an overhaul. I don't like that it's decentralized. I'm sorry. Fake anarchist. Fake anarchist. They're saying, oh, he doesn't believe in anarchism. Okay, sorry. My apologies, all right? It is true. I like centralized, well-coordinated socialist organizations. Why is it leftists are so much more divided than right? Because right-wingers like winning and leftists like jerking off. Zoran has also talked about centralizing DSA. Would you say you support a vanguard? No, that's a different thing. Why does DSA hate Vaush again? DSA doesn't hate Vaush because there is no DSA. DSA is super, super decentralized. There are some DSA leaders who don't like me, but like, yeah, that's what happens when you're well known. Sure, there are some who don't like Hassan either. Probably fewer though. I'd be willing to bet. Probably fewer. Doesn't really matter. We're all a bigger tent now. Yeah, I'd say so. I joined my local DSA chapter, went to a protest, went to a Bernie rally, helped distribute food at a food bank, donate regularly to ACLU and Wikipedia, and I still want to do more. You just got to take that first step, chat. That's wonderful. Yeah, seriously, chat. I'm just saying it's a lot easier and more approachable than you might think. You know, it's every journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. But what they never tell you is that after the 1,000th step, you're like, damn, stepping's pretty easy, actually. It's actually, like, pretty normal. In fact, it would take more effort to stop at this point. They don't tell you this. What can be done to overcome the propaganda machine on the right? Honestly, Mamdani. I think that's the blueprint. I think that's the blueprint. Genuinely. You know? So much money goes into Cuomo, right-wing money goes into Cuomo. You run a great ground game, you make yourself cool, you make yourself transformative, you can do magical shit. Okay? I think that's the template. Bernie did it as well. I think Mamdani did it better, but on a much smaller scale. I think if you had a Mamdani energy and Mamdani competence campaign, but starting from Bernie's like starting position, right? Longtime senator, you know, he runs. I think that they would still be like the God Emperor of the United States. I guess if we're doing this, I joined my union 5 months back and I'm now in charge of candidate research for local elections. Just join up, chat. Nice. Great. So now you get to like decide basically like who the union's going to lean in towards endorsing, right? Like who you'll throw your support behind or like, you know, host events with them or scheduling speeches or interactions. That's like a lot of power potentially. Obviously it depends on the union, but that's still very important. Chat, you have to just try. You have to put yourself out there and try. You have to try your best. Vaush, would it technically be a genocide to outlaw living in rural counties? No, and I like what I like the direction your mind is going in. I agree. We do need to have plans for when the Democrats take power back. We need big, innovative, bold ideas. We're going to do like an American version of when the Soviets sent soldiers to like every rural village from Moscow to East Siberia, you know? They find people living in varying states, you know, anywhere in time from the 1900s to the 1400s. And they're like, you will read this book. You will learn this language. Dropping fucking airborne divisions into the mountains of Appalachia so they can storm local communities and introduce like the people's history of the United States to everyone. You will read this book. You will wear these glasses. But the kids can't read. Neither can you. I know you don't watch South Park, but I think the reason we haven't gotten a South Park season for an unusually long time is because they have no idea how to parody the state of things anymore. Yeah, that's probably true. To an extent. Yeah, parody, it's pretty difficult to do parody right now, like any kind of political parody. The Onion's been bitching about this for a while, but it's true. They're correct. How the fuck do you satirize any of this? You know, it's all so beyond the pale. I don't know.